Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a classic 1937 text to crack the code on the true, actionable mechanics of success. We're going to take a really close look at the foundational source material behind one of the most famous wealth-building philosophies of the entire 20th century, exploring the original stories and principles that literally millions of people have studied.
So what is the true starting point of all achievement? Well, let's kick things off with a pretty bold, provocative claim made right at the beginning of the author's work. Thoughts aren't just fleeting ideas floating around in your head. According to the text, thoughts are actually powerful, physical things, especially when they're mixed with a definiteness of purpose. The core premise here is that absolutely every achievement, all earned riches, literally start as a single idea.
We are distilling the absolute core principles from this iconic 1937 text today. We're going to focus specifically on how the raw, undeniable power of desire, persistence, and faith can quite literally shape your physical reality. You know, the author actually spent 25 years analyzing hundreds of incredibly successful individuals just to uncover these exact mechanics.
All right, let's get into Section 1, Thoughts Become Things, the Tramp and the Inventor.
To prove this isn't just a bunch of empty theory, consider the story of Edwin C. Barnes. Here was a man who burned with a desire to work with, not for, the legendary Thomas A. Edison. Now, outwardly, his physical reality was pretty bleak. I mean, he looked like an ordinary tramp. He was totally penniless and actually traveled to Edison's lab in New Jersey on a freight train. But inwardly, his thoughts were literally those of a king. He had this absolute, all-consuming obsession to become Edison's business partner. Even Edison himself later noted that while Barnes looked like a tramp, his expression showed he was absolutely determined to get what he came after.
Barnes literally burned his bridges. He operated on a single, terrifying premise. He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish. So he took a menial, low-paying office job for Edison just to get his foot in the door. Months went by, and there was zero promise of a partnership. But then, Edison invented the Edison dictating machine. Edison's own sales force thought the thing would be completely impossible to sell. But Barnes? He saw his opening. He pitched Edison, snagged the contract, and successfully sold it nationwide. It's wild, but it proves that an intangible thought, backed by a total refusal to retreat, can become a highly lucrative physical reality.
Which brings us to Section 2, 3 feet from gold, and the absolute danger of quitting.
But hey, what happens when you actually have the tangible tools right there in your hands, but you completely lack the intangible persistence to see it through? Well, take the rather tragic case of R.U. Darby. Darby's uncle caught gold fever, staked a claim, and actually found gold. They raised money for all the machinery, mined the first car of ore, and proved they were sitting on one of the richest mines in Colorado. But then, out of nowhere, the vein of gold just disappeared. They kept drilling desperately for a while, but eventually they just threw in the towel. They sold their machinery to a junk man for a few $100 and went home totally defeated. But the junk man? He was smart. He hired a mining engineer who understood fault lines, and that engineer calculated the gold vein was just 3 feet from where Darby and his uncle had stopped drilling. And yeah, the junk man made millions, simply because Darby stopped 3 feet from gold.
The crazy thing is, Darby didn't let this massive failure define him. He learned to never, ever accept no as an answer. Later on, he witnessed a small sharecropper's child absolutely defy his own fierce, temperamental uncle, completely refusing to budge until the uncle handed over the 50 cents she was owed. The child's sheer, unyielding persistence actually conquered a grown man. So Darby took the painful lesson of the gold mine, combined it with the lesson from that child, and used that mindset to become one of the very few men of his era to sell over $1 million in life insurance annually. And you know, this kind of defiant persistence is exactly what drove Henry Ford too. Ford demanded an engine with all 8 cylinders cast in one block. His engineers repeatedly told him it was, quote-unquote, impossible. But Ford? He just refused to let them quit. And after a full year of failures, the impossible V8 engine block was successfully cast.
Moving right along to Section 3, 6 Steps to Riches. This is the core framework.
So once we fully grasp that persistence is completely non-negotiable, we can start applying Andrew Carnegie's exact step-by-step framework for attaining success. The source material lays out 6 highly specific steps. Step 1. You have to fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. Just saying, "I want plenty" doesn't cut it. Step 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return, because, well, there's no such thing as something for nothing. Step 3. Establish a definite date for possession. Step 4, create a definite plan and begin at once, whether you feel fully ready or not. Step 5, write out a clear, concise statement of the first 4 steps. And Step 6, this is the really crucial one, read your statement aloud, twice daily, once right before bed and once right after waking up. And as you read it, you have to literally see, feel, and believe yourself to already be in possession of that money.
Going to that extreme level of obsession creates what the author calls money consciousness. You basically have to work yourself into this white heat of desire. You're actively deceiving your own subconscious mind into believing that you already possess the very thing you're seeking. You must actively shift your mind from a failure consciousness to a success consciousness, completely saturating your brain with the desires until it becomes your dominating obsession.
Now for Section 4, Outwitting Mother Nature, a son's victory.
You know, this whole philosophy goes way, way beyond just building financial wealth. Take the deeply personal, truly incredible journey of the author's own son, Blair. Right at birth, doctors handed down a grim diagnosis. The boy was born without physical ears and would be a deaf mute for his entire life. But the author silently defied this. He made a rock-solid decision right then and there that his son would hear and speak. He continually planted a burning desire for a normal life into his son's mind, mostly through bedtime stories. Then, in childhood, the boy actually discovered bone conduction hearing simply by clamping his teeth onto a Victrola record player. By age 7, showing this intense, undeniable self-reliance, he actually climbed out a window just to sell newspapers on the street and earn his own money. Finally, in his very last week of college, he tested out a brand new electrical hearing device that completely opened up a world of sound for him for the first time. He then turned around and dedicated his entire career to marketing that exact device to help millions of other people.
So the massive takeaway from Blair's life is really this: handicaps can be converted into stepping stones on which one may climb toward a worthy goal. Blair didn't just overcome his deafness, he took his absolute greatest physical handicap and turned it into a lifelong asset. He never once used it as an alibi. And this was driven purely by the absolute belief and desire that was instilled in him by his father. A desire so incredibly strong that the author actually suggested literally forced nature to bridge the physical gap in the boy's hearing.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 5, the power of faith, the psychological engine.
So what is the actual psychological mechanism powering all of these crazy historical and personal stories? It's autosuggestion. See, faith isn't just some mystical woo-woo concept here. It is the head chemist of your mind. And the best part, you can create it voluntarily. How? Through autosuggestion. This is simply the principle of passing repeated instructions or affirmations to your subconscious mind. Think about it. Just like a person might eventually start believing a lie if they repeat it to themselves enough times, you can convince your subconscious mind that you are absolutely going to achieve your goals by repeatedly instructing it with complete and total belief.
Because your mind ultimately takes on the exact nature of your dominating thoughts, feeding your brain positive emotion and faith literally magnetizes you. You become this walking human magnet, attracting physical equivalents from the world around you. Thoughts, when mixed with the raw emotion of faith, constitute a true magnetic force. Whether it's Edwin C. Barnes attracting a massive partnership with Edison, or Henry Ford attracting the engineering solution to the V8 engine, the subconscious mind translates these faith-backed impulses into their physical reality using the most direct, practical ways possible. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a pretty tough question to chew on. What are you currently 3 feet away from? Seriously, are you going to be like R.U. Darby and just pack up all your tools right before you strike gold? Or are you ready to act like Edwin Barnes, to define your major purpose, burn your bridges, and start taking those 6 steps today? The source material leaves us with this unavoidable message. Your mind is a magnet, and the exact amount of desire and persistence you apply will determine exactly what you pull into your physical reality. Thanks for joining me to unpack these fascinating concepts. See you next time.